What is up, bros? Me Josh here. In today's video, we are going over the work in progress Tier 6 USN Cruiser, the Dallas. Now, the Dallas has some pretty big shoes to fill, and that is the replacement for the Cleveland, which is moving to Tier 8, as you guys all know, and it's joining a pretty big and a pretty competitive Tier 6 Cruiser tier, one that's been around for a long time and filled with some pretty big hitters for a long time. Now, if you guys know, of course, in 7.5, the USN Cruiser split is going to be splitting, and the Dallas will be the new Tier 6, the smaller caliber cruisers, the 152s, and then the Salt Lake City or also known as the Pensacola will be switched down to the 203 line. So at Tier 6, they will be split up, one with the smaller caliber 152s, kind of playing more of like a Cleveland Atlanta play style. And then you get the 203 size with the Pensacola and upwards to that, all the way up to the Des Moines, of kind of that bigger caliber, slower reload, but you know, the American 203, which is pretty nuts. But the Dallas overall is a pretty good ship, although it's still work in progress, so things are subject to change. And I'm actually really liking these. Now, this line has a couple of mediocre ships, but I think the Dallas at Tier 6 is pretty solid. 28,000 life, and let's just compare that to, let's say, the current Cleveland. So the Cleveland's definitely going to have a little bit more life, as this is going to basically be the switch off. So we're rocking almost 7,000 more with it. Not too much armor on these ships, only 16mm platings. I think one of the funniest things was, if I can click this off really fast, is it has almost the same armor as the Monahan, which is a destroyer. So very, very fragile ship, so be very careful on where you place the Dallas, because you will be getting basically overmatched by a lot of shells. We were taking citadels from certain angles, so these are going to be what I would call island humping ships. They're not open water ships, although you can play these as almost kiting ships, but you will be taking big hits every once in a while because of the very minimal plating that you're going to have on these, so be very careful where you go. One thing is, pretty quick reload, 8.5 second reload, so not too bad. A decent fire chance. Now the captain I'm running will go over it, but that's without demo. Oh no, it is with demo expert. So 9 base, 11 with demo expert. Pretty lofty shells with the HE of being 812 meters per second. So the Cleveland, I think, currently is, yeah, right there. So if you have played the Cleveland, you're going to be pretty used to it. So the turret layout is going to be a 2-3-3-2. So a 2, a 3, and then a 3, and then a 2 in the back. So that's 10 shells going out, 8.5 seconds. Actually, with an inertia fuse captain, which I am running with this guy, these things actually have pretty good alpha damage. The AP was actually very good as well. One thing that's awesome is the AA defense. These things are going to be nightmares for for aircraft carriers, because you're going to be starting to shred planes pretty quick. Now, I am running an AFT captain, as well as modules. I am running the extra range. So 7.2 kilometer range of AA. You're going to start chunking down some planes, 30 at 7.2, 16 at 7.2, so already that's 46 DPS there. And then once you start getting to that 5-kilometer range, you're going to start knocking out more and more planes. So this is going to be a pretty strong AA line. If you have a CV friend that's starting to maybe grind a line, he's going to love having you there. You can lock down some areas with your rate of fire as well as your AA protection, and you can have some pretty good results from that. Relatively stealthy at 10.1. If you played the Cleveland, it's a little stealthier than the Cleveland, although it should, because the Cleveland is going to be a little bit more armored. Actually not too much armored, but it's going to have that health pool to then offset, right? So 14.3 kilometer range. So with that rate of fire, if you find that right island, you find the right location, you're going to be very successful with this ship, although the whole line kind of plays this way, especially the smaller calibers. And you can just be that kind of AA platform, relatively stealthy at 10.1, and just be a really effective role-specific cruiser. This is a role-specific line. So let's dive into some gameplay, and we'll go over the Dallas in its natural habitat of just lighting everything on fire. So here we are in game with the Dallas, and yes, Tier 6, we are bottom tiered and playing trap, but what does that mean? That potentially, if we get into a good situation, we can rotate into BCAP, be an awesome AA platform, because we are playing against CVs, as well as we have lots of islands to play around with some pretty good spots. So we will, of course, assist this Benson. Now, I didn't want to quite go B right away because there is a CV. This isn't a radar ship, and I'm bottom tiered with almost no armor, so I have to be pretty careful. If you have ever played the Atlanta, if you ever played, really kind of anything super fragile like that doesn't have that good of range, this is the same kind of play style you're going to play with this. Now with the Cleveland as well, what you're going to kind of do is you're going to try to pick, if you can, maybe a corner right here, maybe one of these align, because you have a pretty high trajectory. If you post up on a corner, stay undetected, or I guess if you can be a little greedy and maybe be a little bit detected, but using that cliff, because you'll be able to most likely fire over that edge right here, but they won't be able to fire back because their trajectory is going to be much lower most likely. You can be very, very effective. So we're going to support this Benson and push onto this. My goal was, since there was a 3 destroyer, Kagero, Loyang, and Geta, we could potentially, now of course we see that one of the DDs is here. We're not sure which one it is, but it is smoking up. So most likely the Loyang or the Geta. Most Kageros are running torpedo acceleration, not all of course, but we'll hopefully run there and then kind of do that. So one of the two. So I'm expecting, since Kageros love to rotate up the flank, that maybe our Benson would rotate there. And you know, if our Benson gets him and I'm within a decent amount of range, he's going to die. Because this rate of fire, this alpha damage, remember I am running an inertia fuse captain, so my alpha damage is going to be much higher than would normally be. So, but my my level of fires is going to be a little bit lower. Actually, when I said the percentage of fires earlier, keep that in mind, that was with inertia fuse. So I think it would be it'd be around 10 or something like that base, something 11 12 base with a demo expert, but you lose the percentage with the inertia fuse. So I apologize about that earlier. But what we're doing right here is there was nothing contending this cap at all. So one thing you want to do is, well, this is called trap. You don't want to get trapped here. So as you can see, there's a lot of ships behind me that are rotating towards A. Since there's nothing there, I was like, all right, rotate to B cap. And this is something you don't really see a lot, especially in randoms, is people listened. And I think I even said on stream when I was playing this game, I think this is potentially the best team ever, because yes, exactly what this guy said in chat. Oh my God, people who communicate. And it was really, really awesome. Now our Benson, I was hoping he would continue on with the plan, and basically all we're going to do is we're going to push straight towards B because nothing was at A, push them all the way out to the 9-10 line on C cap, and then just the GG easy. Because, you know, we have these guys in the middle, we can work them down, we can get really aggressive. I could be an awesome AA platform on that. And so as you see, everybody on our mini map, these guys are holding that point, these guys are pushing into B. This is just going to be awesome because they're all rotating to C. We'll just leave them in the open, and it's a GG easy right there. Well, the downside is, well, our Benson apparently wanted to be a hero, and I told him to not go that way, but again, he's gonna do his own little thing, and we'll see. So in comes the damage on these La Glacière, and there's a whole bunch of ships, I think 5 that have angles on them, so you'll get to see what the Dallas can start to put out damage-wise. Now, this is broadside, and we were still kind of testing ammos, and we got a Leander kill right there, but that's one salvo for about 4K. A little under 4K, but still broadside cruiser, and it's just good overall alpha damage. That's one thing I actually noticed with these ships, especially if you are running those that inertia fuse, is you're gonna get 3-4K salvos every 8 seconds. That's really, really, really good. Especially when you're pumping out with this rate of fire. So yes, the Geta was right there. But I figured if we get that cruiser out of the way, as normally I always praise to shoot destroyers first. If we could get that cruiser out of the way, our destroyer could push that way, this Benson, but this Benson doesn't really get quite aggressive enough. So we're starting to lose our DDs a little bit. We already lost our Hinson Yang, we lost our Gnevny. So we have this guy right here in smoke. Of course, it's a Geta, so he's going to have sonar. So this might have ended up being a butterfly effect misplay, which does happen every once in a while. But our Nürnberg was going to get a little aggressive, and I was hoping our CV would drop this, and instead of turning left, our Nürnberg turns right, and down he is going to go pretty low, 4K. And so I'm in a really good spot right now. I can at least help with these CVs. With my AA, it's not quite Cleveland level, and we're starting to drop. So about 30 seconds ago, I said we had potentially the best team ever. And of course, he's continuing to shoot and smoke, so I'm just going to shoot where his tracers are coming from, and our guy's going to go down. He's still on fire, so which is good. So as soon as he pops out of the smoke, he's basically dead. And here you can kind of see the DPS on a destroyer that's relatively close. You got kind of lucky there, but 2,500 on a salvo right there. But if I was a little lower, it would have hit him a little bit harder. But like, these shells are accurate. This is good rate of fire. There's good damage. And one thing I want you guys to watch is actually the fire chance on these. And this is with inertia fuse. So I'm losing fire chance on this now. That was as soon as I talk about how accurate the ship is. I get that salvo. But see, right there is one thing. I got a little bummed because our Benson went around and couldn't really do too. And he went around kind of trying to be a hero. I kind of wish he would have just helped us push the mid right there. But now we're kind of in a pickle, right? We got some ships pushing north. Luckily, they're just both cruisers. So it's not like a big bad battleship's pushing away, but we have big bad battleships that are starting to make their way towards B. But this is the kind of situation where this ship is going to excel. And what do I mean by that is I am going to be able to shoot over all of these situations, all of these spots, and ships aren't going to be able to get back. So our grass plate, nice, knocks down that. We have a low yang on this point, so we can't go north to push away. There's battleships that are bearing in at 8 kilometers. Everyone's pretty low, but I think actually the CV that's on our team we played against last game, he was actually pretty solid. We just so happened to me to be playing the Saipan, so he ran into a Saipan, lol. But so I can count on him a little bit. We're sonared by the Low Yang, and here I was a little worried. Now German AP, of course, if you guys have ever played him, you know it's pretty nasty. And I was like, man, this guy could absolutely chunk me up if he's shooting AP. Luckily, he just sticks with HE, and I think I give our own little grass plate a little touch right here. My bad there, friend. Knocked off some of your AA or your secondaries, one or two. And we're starting to just drop more and more ships. So one thing that took me a little while to get used to, especially because I just got done playing ranked and I was playing Hindenburg and different ships that had nowhere near this trajectory, was it took me a while to get used to this kind of loft on your shot. It took me a good while to get you kind of used to this. This is a pretty high. If you have ever kind of played the Cleveland, if you ever played the Atlanta, if you ever played some of those ships, they have a bit of a loft to their shell, and it takes a while to kind of get that in, you know, it seems almost like basically each kilometer out there, it almost seems like a second of travel time. So it took me a while to definitely get used to this. I played like the whole day with these ships, so I kind of started to get it. So I probably easily missed out on some damage, because when you have a 10-second lead time or something like that, it's kind of tough to hit things. But we're actually in a really good spot, though. He can't get any of his planes near us in the middle, basically. And right now, we're just kind of chilling. So I'm going to slowly just start pecking off a couple of these planes. Nothing crazy. But what I want to do is I want to start forcing repairs so our CV can get damage in. So if I force repair and he drops on, let's say I force repair on this North Carolina, our CV pushes in and gets a torp and gets a flood on him. He's gonna be stuck on that flood. So this is where we start. I mean, 10 minutes in, we only have 33k, which isn't that much damage. But what we'll do is we kind of start putting on the carry pants. Again, we're bottom tier, so remember that. And we're going to see what the Dallas can actually do. Again, we're just kind of posted up for AA. Our Leon lives with 80 life, which was awesome. And I'm trying to find the best kind of angle for attack here to pump out as much damage as possible. Our North Carolina was nice enough to go completely south, so he couldn't really do anything. And again, here we go. So Low Yang pushes in. And buddy, you don't want to push in against this guy. You do not want to push in against the Dallas. The thing's relatively agile, and inertia fuse, that's gonna hit. So apparently he got the torp there. Like, where was my kill? I got robbed there. So here we go, and put on the torp beats. Kind of tough. I thought maybe I take one. We'll be okay. It's gonna hurt a little bit. We'll be all right. And boom, nice thin small ship. Get in, get out, but I'm kind of broadside to everything. And here we go, we're going to throw on our AA and start pumping out some damage on these planes. Again, remember, 7.2 kilometers, and it's not all about shooting down the planes, although they have the ability to. It's about spreading those planes out of when they are basically frightened or in the way. I don't know. I always just call them just spreading the planes out, which when they're alerted or whatever. So here you kind of see what the ship kind of does if it gets any kind of AP. Shot at it, it's gonna be kind of brutal. And right now, again, we're just trying to switch out that nice hit by our Leon there. I kind of forgot how how kind of clutch that guy did for only having 80 life after that. So he repped. So as you can see right here, I'm going to communicate with my CV that he no longer has a repair. So it's really important to then do that. This is how you're going to win games with communication. So we're going to let our CV strike him, and I'm going to work on the other ships. So the reason I kept shooting him is our CV didn't say anything. So there's the communication to our CV. And so, boom, our CV knows. So I'm going to switch to the Normandy and just start pumping out damage on that. Luckily, these guys just didn't shoot at me. I got gifted these red battleships. And our other battleship, our Arizona, was kind of pumping out some damage from range. So he's going to start pushing up so we can start tanking. And we're purely going to start working on the Normandy. Let our CV focus on the North Carolina. But if we get a ship out, boom, our Leon goes in. And he has 2 fires on him. So he's going to burn. So we'll just let that kind of go. And one thing I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to basically just start turning in towards this B cap. And we're going to start bringing this game back. One thing we don't have to worry about is CV, but CV won't be able to drop on me. There's just no way. As long as I have AA consumable up, he won't be able to drop on me. There's just no way. My AA is just going to be too good. We haven't taken that much damage. And I'm going to be an AA platform for my Arizona. Now I won't have anything for these dive bombers, a little bit too far away, but I'm going to basically save them for the torpedo strikes. So that's always one thing to do too. If you are rolling as an AA boat, especially with this line, if you now USN AP is AP dive bombers is a little different, Grab Zeppelin's a little different, but one thing I kind of always do is save your AA for torp bombers. If you're blowing them on your A consumable on dive bombers and then let them have the torp bombers coming through, you're most likely going to end up repelling less damage, because torps are going to have that really high alpha damage as well as the flood chance. So usually I just let the dive bombers go through, because yeah, they're going to try to cause a little bit of damage, but overall it's just fire damage, which is awful. But the flood damage is going to be pretty brutal, so that's normally what I save it for. So this is kind of what I'm talking about. He's at 10 kilometers, and there's almost an 8-second lead. So this line will take you a little bit getting used to kind of dial it in and kind of get into the right situation, or the right kind of shooting muscle memory. So if you are going from playing, let's say, the Russian line, the IJN line, stuff like that, to this line, it's going to take you a few games to get back into the rhythm of firing these guns, because they are, if you haven't played the USN, the smaller caliber shells, they are pretty lofty. So it's not quite Atlanta level. Like I said, the trajectory is basically right there with the Cleveland. It's perfect. It's the exact same. But I mean, hitting something even at 13 kilometers, even with a 14.3 kilometer range, that's almost gonna have to be stationary. You're gonna be most effective within I would say about 12 kilometers. So our North Carolina, our stock survivability expert North Carolina, who went all the way around B cap, is going to push in and finally get C cap, but he will get dropped, but that's all right. Protects us a little bit. And all I'm going to do is just push towards C cap and just try to keep our Arizona safe. So the upsides of this ship. Now, is it as good? Okay, so is it as good as the current Cleveland? I don't think it's quite as good as the current Cleveland. You know, it's down on health a little bit. It can't really, I don't know if you would consider the Cleveland able to even tank at all. But the Cleveland has just been loved for so long. It's been freaking rumored. Okay, actually, this is a perfect example of how these guns can be so effective. So very few ships could do this. Not that salvo, but one of the upcoming salvos. Is since you can have such a loft on your shell, you can put shots in on ships like this. So we're continuing to pump out some damage, continuing to move in. These are kind of normal, right? He's getting right there. So almost every other ship wouldn't be able to make this next salvo, but you could. He is right on. I mean, I can still get shells over that. I think this is one of the few ships you could actually do that in. So he probably thought he was safe. I probably thought I would have been safe right there, but boom, right over the perfect little arc, and you can knock that. So that is the type of strength of that ship. You know, vice versa. If I was in his spot shooting the ships into B cap, they most likely wouldn't have been able to hit me, but I would have been able to hit them. So that's where you're going to be super effective. Finding those right parts of the islands, finding those right parts of the map where you can be, I would say, campy, quote unquote, and just be, I mean, they're gonna have to push into you, right? And you're gonna be able to continue to fire on them, so they are going to take a beating. Now, if they do see you in the open water, they are gonna whoop on you because you have DD level armor. So I guess that's one of the downsides. But strength of the ship, rate of fire is good, the alpha damage is good, number of shells going out, fire chance is good, and stealth. I mean, this thing has a lot of things going for it. Downsides, this thing isn't going to tank at all. You know, you get kind of like the Baltimore, the Des Moines. You can kind of bow tank a little bit, you know, especially against other cruisers. But this, with the tiny plating, you're not going to be able to do anything. So you're going to have to be very, very careful. One of the biggest things I'm a little bit worried about for this ship is that it might be a little boring. This playstyle might be boring for a lot of people. This is going to be pretty freaking role specific. So, and what do I mean by that is you're going to be playing this AA hiding ship. And you can't just go kind of open water and go lol and just do a bunch of damage. You're going to have to be pretty careful. This is going to be pretty map dependent, and you're going to have to play relatively safe. If you just go open water and a battleship gets a good salvo on you, he's just going to overmatch you and just murder you. So you're going to have to play it pretty careful, and I don't think that's a very exciting play style. You know, if you're a patient player and you enjoy that USN line, it's basically kind of like the USN line is right now. But this is even less tanky than some of the ships. So this isn't going to be a playstyle for everyone. It'll be a playstyle for some. But anyways, I think overall, if you enjoy this playstyle, I think you'll really like these ships. Is it as good as the Cleveland overall? I just don't think so. But I do think this has great potential of being a fun line for some people, and the CV is going to go and take my damage. But anyways, bottom tier, 3 caps, kill, over 100,000 damage. In a nice little comeback win in the Dallas. Again, guys, this is work in progress, so things are subject to change. I could see this ship going live like this, and I could see people having fun in this ship. Again, upsides, it has some great upsides. Good DPS, good AA, good stealth. All these things adding up to be a great tier 6 cruiser. Downsides, I think the playstyle might be, I would say, to use, you know, whatever words, a little boring for some players. But this is what this line is going to play like throughout the entire thing. But anyways, guys, the Dallas, the tier 6, the replacement for the Cleveland, some big shoes to fill, and I think it's doing a decent job at filling them. But anyways, guys, that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.